The music of the world and the instrument of the mind. Almost everyone has had the experience while listening to music of being delightfully surprised by the melody, a delight which is registered on your skin as goosebumps, a phenomenon technically called frisson. This experience is, of course, not limited exclusively to music. However, because of the powerful evocative quality of music in relation to our own subjective emotional states and moods, it is an archetypal example to examine. Similarly common is the experience of hearing echoes of your own soul, so to speak, in the music that you love. Indeed, that is often an essential element of such music. And these echoes are nothing more or less than the resonance that we as individuals feel with the ideas and emotions, the mood that is expressed and evoked by the song in question. This experience of resonance, which is exemplified in the touch of frisson, serves as a key indicator of the orienting reflex at work. The frisson that you feel during musical, dramatic, or poetic masterpieces is not merely a reflection of your inner appreciation of the work, but it is, in fact, a form of tactile feedback from the world, an indication that there is something to what you just witnessed which you need to explore further and understand more deeply. That this relatively common experience of goosebumps is, in actuality, a subtle form of feedback from the world, helping to orient you towards the meaningful unknown, rather than merely a function of your subjective appreciation, becomes all the more undeniable when one experiences it repeatedly in relation to one particular piece of material. As a brief example, when I was led by the signs to read The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho, a book which had a profound impact on me, I experienced goosebumps during the prologue, and then again within the first 10 pages, and in total perhaps a dozen or 2 dozen times during the reading of the whole book, which I did in one sitting. So strong was the grip the story had and has had on me that I was unable to put it down. This frisson is our spontaneous recognition of a meaningful note of the song, so to speak, and it is an experience you should pay the utmost attention to, for it signals meaning that you have not yet learnt to consciously identify, but which you recognize on an intuitive level. This musical theme will be pursued in this section because it is a profound and rich metaphor. For the moment, you are encouraged to take it as a metaphorical expression, although this reduction to mere metaphor will be pursued further in the fifth lecture, where we will talk about the proposition that language is magic, is transformation. One of the themes that is pursued in the novel The Alchemist is that the world speaks in many languages, and that we have to learn to understand the languages it speaks in order to live in harmony with it. It explains alchemy as learning to speak the language of the world, which is an illuminating expression, although it is merely a hint, a nudge in the right direction. A key element of the language of the world is music, and the music of the world is an incredible thing to behold. But it is something we are rarely given the opportunity to appreciate, as it is the most mysterious and subtle phenomenon known to mankind. Each time we are able to get a sense of the song, we learn it and know it and use it, and then it is ours, and we no longer appreciate that it was once part of the most mysterious domain of all, Mother Nature. This is partly why the language of metaphor must be our recourse, for it furnishes the world of descriptions with nature herself. There is a certain music to everything that exists, all people and all things, including the universe itself. If you listen carefully to the kind of music that someone is producing, you can get a sense for what kind of world they exist within. Mystic once said to me that when he couldn't figure out how to relate to someone, he would sometimes begin copying their mannerisms, both verbal and behavioral. He suggested that through this strategy of imitation, he would be enabled to recreate some sense of the other person's inner harmonic, thereby getting a better read on them as an individual. This particular metaphor of the world as music is incredibly influential in synchronistic phenomenology, partly because of the quality of resonance, which is such a key aspect of the material, a term that is ostensibly, though not exclusively, related to auditory phenomena. Specifically, resonance is the phenomenon which occurs when the natural frequency of a system is stimulated by an external tone, causing an increase in the amplitude of the sound wave, although this occurs also with other types of waves. This description is illuminating with respect to the term's import for synchronicity, as those ideas and invocations which most closely align with one's own internal architecture result in a certain kind of inner resonance, where the felt impact of the words transcends their merely intellectual meaning. This resonance is an indication that what was just said was in some sense an articulation of one's own inner experience. This resonance is an indication both of the authenticity of the statement and of the multi-leveled nature of its truth. It is as if, upon hearing the truth spoken forth, one recognizes and knows it as such, because it fits in with one's own experiences exactly. One of the central ideas in the study of this phenomenological form of resonance is that when something is really profoundly true, it resonates on every level, not just on one or two. This is the source for Rule 7 in the top 10 tips I provided at the beginning of the first lecture, which reads, "If it doesn't ring like a bell for everyone involved, it's not quite right." This ringing like a bell manifests differently for different people and is sometimes described as the click of cognition, when some articulation of a statement perfectly captures what we are intending to convey through the communication, or perfectly clarifies it for the listener. However, in all occasions, it can be understood as a kind of inner response to outer expressions of truth. The inner response is the recognition of the holistic and fractal nature of that truth, as it is known and experienced by the individual. In the profound case, one will experience goosebumps and often a series of conceptual associations that arise unbidden in the mind of the listener, spawning new conversational threads to explore. The experience of goosebumps is what happens when the music of the world includes a note that is part of our own personal song, which thus resonates within our soul. The instrument of the mind is best used and most masterfully played when it learns to take these cues that it receives from the greater symphony, which is the transcendent reality within which we exist, and of which we are but fragments. The trick is to learn to harmonize with the world without trying to do so. This extension of the musical metaphor is eminently appropriate, as it coincides with the optimal terminology for moral analysis. Goodness is nothing less than harmony of the widest possible scope, the utmost alignment between all individual points of view and the total and transcendental reality. I am reminded of Kant's categorical imperative. Act only according to that maxim whereby you can, at the same time, will that it should become a universal law. Even if you are occasioned to question or critique this very brief analysis of morality, it cannot be denied that this impulse to critique or to doubt is motivated by an inner desire to be consistent and concordant with reality. That is, to harmonize with reality. Insofar as we are invested in the activity of attempting to produce accurate conceptual models of the world around us, we are invested in harmonizing with the way things really are in order that our lives might go according to our plans. So then, it is not very unusual that we would want to insist on this notion of the instrument of the mind and the music of the world, as they are critical conceptions in the quest of attempting to emulate objectivity in all the myriad ways, such as music, dance, drama, and so on, that are so natural to mankind. Our truest home is found in the harmony between our song and the universal song. The orienting signal, then, is the note in the song which is unknown to you, but which you almost remember, as if you've heard this song before, but you have no knowledge of it whatsoever. It is the note of the song that is leading you towards the subtler elements of the harmony that you are currently missing. Notes which escape your attention because you are too expectant that what comes next will come in the same form as what you've already come to know and recognize. To the contrary, however, synchronicity is such an elusive phenomenon primarily because it functions like a trail of breadcrumbs that is leading you ever upwards to higher realms of appreciation and mastery of the phenomenal reality, that transcendental symphony in which we find ourselves as audience and artist at once. Therefore, the orienting signal is the essential element and primary sign of synchronicity, each individual variation being a detailed expression of one and the same phenomenon, that which directs the individual towards the more sophisticated harmonic alignment, which is possible at the level of symphonic resonance. If this trail of breadcrumbs is followed both diligently and unself-consciously, then the individual is often sucked directly into a flow state, characterized by an utter absence of conscious effort. It is suddenly as if the music has begun to play itself. This peculiar yet fascinating notion reminds me of the following from the book Mysteries by Colin Wilson. All forms of purposeful activity evoke a higher I. William James pointed out that a musician might play his instrument with a certain technical virtuosity for years, and then one day enter so thoroughly into the spirit of the music that it is as if the music is playing him. He reaches a kind of effortless perfection. The key to hearing the music is intentional and effortful perception. However, in this endeavor, the focus must not override the focus. Focus with a C denotes what one is consciously trying to do and describes the web of ideas that are brought to bear by the individual on their activity in order to facilitate their success. Focus with a K, on the other hand, refers to the broad-minded sense one has of where they are, what is happening, and how they are feeling. In short, it is the less conscious sense one has of everything that is happening, and the self-awareness and tranquility of mind which requires no thought. To give a better idea of the contrast being outlined here, when one is trying to learn a new skill, their focus might be on not messing up in this one specific way, while their focus is a more detached perspective, studying and observing what is happening, but not involved in the trying, not perturbed by the failure, and not concerned with getting it right. This is why we often fail to repeat a trick we've been learning when we try to show someone else. Our focus, in other words, our self-consciousness, interrupts the broader focus which allowed us to succeed to begin with. So, in attempting to hear the music of the world, one must open themselves up intentionally and effortfully, but they must not allow their efforts to become too conscious, and especially not too self-conscious, lest their expectations interfere with the experience. This subtle and precarious balance is what is referred to in other traditions as mindfulness. The phenomenon of resonance very often happens in the context of authentic interpersonal relationships that one has managed to establish with other people. More than this, however, is the fact that other people are one of the primary tools that the world uses to instruct us, as it is in our relationships with others that we first begin to see ourselves properly. Consequently, it is often the case that the music of the world is, in part, directing you to just this end. One day you are just walking along, minding your own business, and out of the sky falls an individual who is going to change your life. Sometimes they intrigue you, sometimes you dislike them intensely, and other times you like them intensely, but most of the time you can feel the chemistry right off the bat. It is as if the world is willing you to pay attention to this individual. And once you do, you quickly figure out why that is. I am reminded of this passage from the Manual of the Warrior of the Light. A warrior knows that his best teachers are the people with whom he shares the battlefield. It is dangerous to ask for advice. It is even more dangerous to give advice. When he needs help, he tries to see how his friends resolve or fail to resolve their problems. If he is in search of inspiration, he reads on the lips of his neighbors the words that his guardian angel is trying to say to him. When he is tired or lonely, he does not dream about distant men and women. He turns to the person beside him and shares his sorrow or his need for affection with them, with pleasure and without guilt. A warrior knows that the farthest flung star in the universe reveals itself in the things around him. In this passage, there is a crucial insight into the way that the universe guides us and teaches us, which is manifest most clearly in the line about reading the lips of his neighbors to hear the message from his guardian angel. These authentic relationships are the perfect place to build on the resonance, because these are the people who are also in the moment and willing to let go and immerse themselves in the flow. Therefore, if you wish to learn the music, first try learning the music of your loved ones, your friends and your colleagues, because the music of the world is manifest in each and every one of them, just as it is in you as well. If you wish to learn how to harmonize better with the Transcendental Symphony, this beautifully immaculate mystery, start first with the most immediately mysterious and beautiful part, the people you surround yourself with. They are your clues. Hey guys, thanks for watching the lecture. I just wanted to let you know that I recently made my Patreon live, so you can now follow me on there. The link will be in the description, and also I'll post a link in the video. Also, I was just wanted to encourage you to subscribe and check out my other work, also linked in the description.